I have to say, like the camera mount for the PlayStation camera is a little bit awkward, but I'm live.
Yay! And I'm live too. And we're both live. And it's the end of the
Yay.
Formula 1 2017 season. And welcome, everyone, to Failcast F1 podcast with myself, Bolkenberg, and our favourite taco friend, Mr. Esteban. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm hungover from the Christmas party last night.
Ow.
I was using my Swayze-like hips to wow all the ladies. I was fully suited, and it was a free bar.
Oh!
Free bar with unlimited gin and tonic.
Wow.
Cuba Libres, the works. It was all covered.
Sounds like my mother's, like, heaven.
It was a really good night, actually, but I temporarily forgot that I was doing this. But I seem to be holding up okay, so hopefully I can be coherent throughout the episode, and if not, then maybe it's still funny to somebody. And hopefully this time we both make it through the qualifying session.
Yeah.
I watched back Canada, and it was quite hilarious how I managed to bin it when I was within a realistic shot of pole, and I have to stop making mistakes like that. It's the first year I think I've been really overdriving, actually. Because historically my finishing record's been quite good, but this year, dreadful, shocking.
I think that the game encourages it though, because you're always as soon as I see that down and up margin on the top right hand side, I'm like, come on, and then you push yourself, and then it all goes horribly wrong, and you end up like Manisha Carlton-Bourne in a bar full of, when you're Yo Sushi, but it's actually Yo Drivers, and they're just on rotation going past you on a conveyor belt. It's like, I'll have that one, I'll have that one, I'll have that one. Anyway,
I think the thing is as well, it's ruined Mika Hakkinen for me. Because if you notice, when you ride the curbs in this game, you lose like 2 to 4 tenths.
yes.
Just from riding the curbs. I was like, what the hell was Mika Hakkinen doing then? Putting it on pole with all these curb riding.
I know, it's disgraceful. Although, what was a joke for me at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend? Sorry, I know we're going off on a bit of a segue before we even begin, which is par for the course with this wonderful podcast. So I was watching both Sky and BBC coverage of Abu Dhabi, and Mika Hakkinen kept on popping up on both coverage. And you go, oh yeah, hi, I'm here with UBS. And they're like, shut up about UBS. And he's like, yeah, but I'm just here talking with UBS. And it's like, he was clearly paid to just say UBS as many times as possible. And David Coulthard, as soon as he went, oh yeah, UBS, and David went, oh shut up, Mika, just walked off and continued. It's really funny. I was like, oh, now Mika is just the bumbling fool on the grid.
Yeah, I actually read about him recently, and I'd completely forgotten that he nearly made a comeback. Do you remember? Was it 2006, or is that too late? Where he was testing for McLaren?
Because it looked like that 206, 207E type car, didn't it? On the picture. I saw that article. I'd forgotten as well.
Yeah, and it was saying, like, because it was about Kubica, wasn't it? That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It was about Kubica.
Like other comebacks.
There we go. Sorry to cut you off, but I just realised I've just been presented with the Formula 1 logo, which was actually at the top of the Christmas pile for this episode.
The pre-Christmas edition. And what are your thoughts on the F1 logo before I go into a diatribe of hate?
I don't want to steal your thunder, to be honest, because I feel whatever hatred you have for it, I can tell you it probably is very similar to my own feelings. And if there was ever something to point to say that maybe there is a threat of liberty Americanizing the sport, I think that logo is a perfect example. It just looks American. It just does.
It's American, but we tried to go for Asia's market all at the same time and failed miserably on both accounts.
I was greatly disappointed by Ross Brawn, actually, because he said, oh, well, the F1 logo is not exactly iconic. What do you mean it's not iconic? Of course it's iconic. It's been around, 30 years?
Yeah, it's not really changed. I mean, I guess for me, I still get excited when I look at the old broadcasts and the old games, and it goes da-da-down.
Yes, I miss that.
Yeah, because there's an actual proper introduction. I like the way how the stuff comes on now, and it does the do-do, whoosh, and it comes across. What kind of 8-bit megapixel shit are they going to bring on with that? Especially when it comes on where we're all on... It looks like someone's put it in the wrong aspect ratio. Or just like they've found a fat person and stretched them out to see if they can like encompass like a duvet. Oh, it's just awful. It's awful. I hate it.
Did you notice, though, that they changed it and hoped we wouldn't notice? Because someone on Twitter picked up on it, that they released it and then realised that the design doesn't scale very well because of the gap inside each of the letters. Mm-hmm. So they redid it, and then they didn't mention that they changed it, they just redid it. So it's clear that they hadn't really thought about it. And, you know, I kind of agree with the people on Twitter who were saying, well, I don't like it, but at the end of the day, F1's got bigger problems. I'm not going to waste time complaining about it. But
I mean,
unfortunately, that's exactly what this podcast is for.
Yeah.
Wasting time complaining about it.
Damn
so
right.
I'm going to do it.
And I do think, though, that of all the things that need sorting out in F1, a new logo was pretty low on the list for my tastes. And like the marketing team have done really, really well with the YouTube channel and getting stuff up to scratch. And their slightly casual, not racism, but like stereotypical.
Why not? Everything else is these days.
Yeah, casual racism. I'm waiting for Lewis Hamilton to pop up with a hat on and then do #MeToo. Just to see what happens. But it's like when you go to the Mexican Grand Prix, of course we're going to have people with massive Mexican hats and Mexican music and everyone going, "Ah!" And of course the colours will be like green and red. This is the kind of stuff that we expect. But when a logo comes up and it looks like someone has basically raped the Force India logo and changed it to orange, it just, no. And that's the first video I've seen on the F1 YouTube channel. Oh Christ, I nearly binned it. Clearly my anger's getting the better of me.
Use the Force, Luke.
When I looked at the thingamabob of the new logo introduction, it almost had as many dislikes as it did likes, and that's the first time I've ever seen that on a video.
Yeah, it's never a good sign, is it?
No.
But it's funny you mentioned the Force India logo, actually, because have you read about their problems the last few weeks?
No.
They want to change the name, but every time people suggest a name or there's a hint at a name, people are cyber squatting on the domains. So they've been able to change the name because every possible combination of words that contains the word force has been grabbed by F1 fans.
Excellent.
Hoping to make some money, so they've said that they're now going to potentially drop force from the name just to get around that.
Oh wow.
Because I have to say, we've been talking about this quite a bit recently, that it seems like internet culture has been catching up with the F1 fan community, and they've been a bit reactionary in a way they haven't been before, and this is like a classic troll move.
Yeah. That's such
it's
a
like
weird...
taking channel names away from people.
That's such a weird name of way of doing things, though, that essentially internet trolls have renamed an F1 team for no particular reason. That feels really odd. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that.
Well, particularly because I love Force India, but the name does have to change. Like when they said, well, we need to get rid of the India in the name, I kind of agreed with that. Not because I've got anything against India, but I can see how it would impact the ability of your team to sort of be seen as an international marketing opportunity.
Yeah, unless you're promoting Indian companies, it's pointless.
Yeah, particularly because it has very few Indian sponsors now and no Indian drivers, not even in its junior program.
Yeah.
So I think the branding was a little bit irrelevant. I was 2 to 3 tenths up, and then I just bungled it.
You are a good 7 tenths ahead of me, though.
Get off the curbs, Ben. Get off the curbs.
I can't help but get on the curbs on this track, though. I use it as like launch points. That's why I'm slow round.
Literal launch points, though. That's the problem, because you literally take off.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if they want to keep force, I have a funny feeling that if we snap up force failure, we could be quids in.
we could be quids in. Do you know? I do think though maybe the name's a little bit too pessimistic for them. I don't think it's quite the marketing image they were hoping for.
No.
But the thing is as well that actually Liberty told them as well that they wouldn't approve a name change to Force One. Because the initials obviously become F1 and not happy about that, which it makes sense. I can see why they would say something like that.
I don't like that name either. It doesn't mean anything to me.
No, it doesn't.
I'm not going to go out and go.
Is important.
No, that's true. That's true. But there's also I guess when I'm looking at a brand and a name, like there's nothing behind the name. Whereas, at least with Force India, at least I can feel like I'm related to the team when I go for a chicken madras. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit more accessible, but also like when they founded the team, it made sense, and you could see what the logic was behind it. Just calling it Force One, it feels like a cheap solution.
Yeah.
Somehow. Like
for no gain.
During the course of that lap, I managed to be 0.5 up on my best time and then lose it completely on curbs.
Excellent.
I could be so much faster than I'm being. A lot of people are qualifying on softs.
Yeah.
In Q1, when there's literally no reason to.
Mind you, there is a fair bit of field spread around this track, I guess. I don't know what I'd want out of an F1 logo though, but I know that it's not that. And there is nothing wrong with what was there before, in my opinion. Especially now, segue, before we get onto our main topic, as the rainbow that comes onto the screen at the beginning of the race weekend reminds me of the selection of Pirelli tyres that we're going to have for 2018.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we touched on this briefly, but first of all, I was quite interested to hear feedback from drivers now they've actually run them. And Hamilton claimed, it's the Hypersoft is the best tyre Pirelli have produced since they returned to Formula One, which I'm trying to take with a pinch of salt because I know he's someone who believes in sprint racing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but what I think last year taught me is that we definitely benefit when teams are out there on different tyres. I think it makes for better racing.
Absolutely.
And to be honest, it shows to me why the tyre wars were a good thing at times. However, the other thing, of course, is that they're aiming to return to two-stop races, which I think will certainly help liven up the show a little bit. Now, what I don't know though is how this new compound, and there's a new wet compound as well, isn't there?
Yes.
So I'm kind of curious how this is going to factor into actual race weekends. Like whether there's still going to be rules about mandatory tyre use, if teams are going to have a selection of 4 compounds instead of 3. Have you seen anything about that?
No. What I have seen is that there will be is that teams can select their. I thought it was that teams could select their own compounds to bring along, and that they're not necessarily prescribing certain ones for certain races. In my head, I may have completely made that up though.
I could believe it, but at the same time, it feels wrong.
Yes.
In the sense that because we got some Twitter messages when this announcement happened.
Yeah.
From our Twitter buddies, and what I said at the time, and I still stand by this, is because a lot of people were saying, well, why is this even necessary? My feeling was that Pirelli learned a lot through this year's tyres and actual functional tyre testing during the season, which they've not really had the luxury of properly before.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw it as was an application of technical knowledge, because I guess what they realised was that there are some tracks where they're having to take a compound that isn't performing well enough, and by adding an extra compound, you can adapt to more circuits with a greater level of consistency. So you no longer are constricted. Is maybe a better way of pointing it out. And you might be thinking, what the fucking hell is he talking about? What I mean is, let's take the Ultra Softs, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know why the Ultra Soft was introduced, but it doesn't necessarily perform the role of Ultra Soft on all circuits. It's not always a viable option.
No.
And so, by having a greater number of compounds, each compound itself can have a different operational window. You don't have to have a selection of soft compounds designed to work as well as possible across a wide range of circuits, but instead you can tailor the compounds on offer to each circuit with a bit more precision. And that's what I took it to be. That and a way to avoid delaminations, because you can maybe firm up some of the other soft compounds. Because obviously, and we made the same assumption, right? We assumed that the Hypersoft was just a brand new tyre and that nothing was changing about the others. But I get the feeling that maybe the Ultra Soft and the Super Soft and the Soft, they're all being refined in a different way. And they won't be identical in construction to this year.
No, they won't.
And I see this as a way to maybe make these tyres a bit more resilient for some circuits where we were still seeing problems happen. Admittedly, not as much as in 2015, but still, for Pirelli, I guess, one delamination is too many delaminations.
Unlike NASCAR. But yeah, it's have you seen that graphic where it puts this year's compounds and then there's an arrow going down to what the equivalent will be for next year?
I have not.
And now that I've mentioned it, it's completely blank from my brain for which side things go. But essentially everything's going a stop. So last year's hard is this year's medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
Or is it... Because we have a super hard now, don't we?
We do have a super hard. And that's new. And essentially all I can see is that that'll be useful for Spain and that'll be it. But one of the things that kind of makes me think, or would open up that whole two-stop window thing, is that whenever we take tyre compounds along to a certain race, it's always that we do stuff that's in a line. So you'd go for soft, super soft, ultra soft, or hard, medium, soft. Why don't we have it so that actually things sometimes are like 2 steps apart? So you have hard, soft, ultra soft, or something like that, and make it like really, really stilted.
I agree with you, but I suspect that Pirelli don't do that because there's an obvious advantage to 1 or 2 compounds in that selection, and so they see it as a non-choice that teams won't make.
Or do it like Formula 2, where you have to run X amount of laps on... Well, it's not X amount of laps on a compound, but you can't pit for fuel and tyres until lap 6 of a race. But make it so that you have to use all 3 compounds in a race, and then that forces the 2-stop. I know it feels quite arbitrary and very artificial, but maybe don't know.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think you have to have an element of like arbitrary.
Wow. Great lap.
Arbitrary impediment to drivers, because as it stands, what you used to have was things to this effect caused by the tyre wars, right? Because manufacturers were in competition with each other, and they would specialise in different things. So if you remember when Bridgestone first returned to the sport, was it their wet weather tyres were really good?
No, their wet weathers were not great, but their soft stuff was really, really good.
Yeah, one or the other. I knew it was something along those lines.
But that was great though, because it meant over the course of the season, like you'd go to Hungary where soft tyres were there, and they'd be like a second faster than Goodyear's, and you'd be like, but then when it came to the rain, they just didn't, because they hadn't had the experience, they didn't know how it would work, and they'd be slower.
Exactly, and you don't really get that anymore. And I'm not saying there's no variance in tyre performance between cars, because we know that there definitely is, and we know particularly the Williams struggles to put temperature in the tyres. But it's a much less frequent occurrence, and as a result, we get far fewer surprise results. And I know a lot of people think, well, F1's never really given a lot of surprise results, but I mean, historically it has, even into the 90s, right? And it's not necessarily surprise winners, but it's, points for teams that don't normally score, or it's, teams nearly getting on the podium that haven't been in the points all year. And I do feel you got that a lot more when the tyre wars were still taking place, as opposed to under the control tyre.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, eventually you will learn how other teams are getting those tyres to work. Because, that's your job in engineering. For a Formula 1 team, you're going to observe other teams' cars, what components they put on. You'll be looking at camber as it drives down the pit lane to see, well, maybe they're angling their tyres differently and it's getting the heat distribution better. So, I don't know. It's starting to rain.
It is.
That is the worst possible news for me, because I'm only just confident in the dry. In the wet, no.
At least the race is dry.
Good.
So far, our fastest lap.
But I don't know. I'm excited by the prospect of what it offers potentially. But again, it's all very theoretical at this point. Are you out on track, Ombre? Can I go on board with you?
I was watching you on a lap.
My in lap, that was 4 seconds off the pace.
Yes. But no, you're fast 1:45.2. You're 8 tenths faster than mine.
I don't know where the fucking hell I pulled that time from. I have no idea where that came from.
Looking good, though. Who did we lose? The usual suspects, including a Palmer.
Lol. Let's take a look who is out.
Oh, Jolien.
Have you noticed on this game that suddenly Stroll is competitive again?
Oh, no.
And also in my career mode at the end of season 1, I was in a situation where I was at my middle stint. I was third. Esteban Ocon was first, and Romain Grosjean was second.
Wow, Grosjean's overpowered for me in this game.
Because of penalties.
Excellent. Love that.
It's funny, isn't it? The penalties do their job on a video game, but not in real life.
Right, what's the state
Right
of the rain
then.
here? Do we need to go early?
It's light rain all the way through, it seems.
Let me have a look at the tyres. Is there a chance of squeaking in a... No, it's straight onto inters.
Yeah, track conditions are already marked as damp. The cars that are going out are on inters.
Cool. Yeah, I was
Okay then. That's a shame, because I felt I had the pace to qualify on the harder tyre, but
Yeah.
apparently that's no longer an option. Here's a question. If we qualify on inters, doesn't that mean we get free tyre choice?
Yes.
Sexy.
That means if you're on the front row, you can still run an alternative strategy.
That's erotic. What I'm very worried about, though, is that there is a huge level of potential for you and me to be on the front row together, and that means accident.
It does. Oh, you've done a...
How are you behind me? I
knee.
just literally saw you drive past. Are we getting desync issues?
Not already.
I just watched you drive past. I saw a horse go, unless it's like a third horse. Stoddart, is that you?
It's me and my fucking two-seater.
That's quite a good impression.
It's ridiculous. Rack off. Yeah.
This feels horrible on the inters.
It does,
I'm
especially because
terrified.
we're on dry setup. That's why. I tell you what, the final chicane will be squeaky bum time. I hate.
Yeah,
that
I'm
chicane
already
in the
nearly
dry.
losing it as it is. This setup is very swivelly on the back.
Yes, mine's quite nose heavy.
I liked your little Scandinavian flick there, Simon. I keep looking back at you, so I can get some cool photo mode shots of you being heroic.
I tell you, I saved a great photo of me in practice yesterday, in stamp mode, crashing into the pit lane. I've not fully
Beautiful.
explored photo mode on this game properly, and I was enjoying the layers of debris. Great. Oh, there's a barrier. Somehow I hit it side on, and it was all good. Yeah.
Shall we dive into our actual topics?
Yes. Let's go for the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get some gravy on the situation. I want to start with Williams and Kubica because we've been covering this for what feels like a lifetime. It feels like the entire of Season 8 has been Robert Kubica. But more information has come to light from his testing with Williams. Now, obviously, he was the fastest Williams driver on the timing sheets. We know that. However, it turns out, and I suspected this from the start actually, when Williams said we're not prepared to discuss his pace.
Yes.
That told me everything I needed to hear. Because, to be honest, Williams are looking for any excuse to pull the trigger to sign him, right? So they're not going to downplay it because the marketing potential, the goodwill towards Kubica and by proxy the team, just means it's a no-brainer to sign him if it doesn't hurt their competitiveness. But it seems that there have been reports of inconsistent lap times, and that adjusted his lap time, actually his representative lap time is 1.6 seconds slower than Sergei Sorokin, who I believe he beat in the Renault test, so I was kind of surprised by that. But the Renault test was run under different conditions in a specification of car he was more familiar with, so, you know, it swings and roundabouts, I suppose. However, I'm going to make one of our famous Failcast F1 predictions now.
Ooh. Go on then.
And I imagine you're going to concur with me. I don't feel confident as to who is going to get the seat, but I'm going to predict it isn't going to be Kubica, but they're going to leave us hanging a while longer because I honestly think no one has any idea how to tell the fans that he's not getting the seat.
Yeah.
Because the hype is real. But I suspect that they'll leave us hanging on maybe another week, 2 weeks, and then they'll announce that he hasn't got the seat, but they need to come up with an excuse for not giving it to him.
Yeah, because they're already starting to do the rumour mill of he's 1 million short of sponsorship. Then there'll be some fan that will go, oh, let's do a Kickstarter a la Caterham.
Yeah, and then raise 45 grand and achieve nothing.
And then start like a change petition. Like instead of world peace, let's just give Kubica the drive. Good to say. It's for me. I think Sergei Sorokin was the one that came out of that test really, really well because he was only a few tenths short of Stroll, who was on 2 tyre compounds better. Stroll really showing actually not great at all. Mr. Inconsistency personified. And when I saw Kubica's times, immediately I thought, but he's on like the fastest tyre and he's not really that much faster in actual speed. But you're right, if they don't fuel him up, and the headline will read he done 110 laps or whatever, which is where everyone's like, oh, they've proved his fitness. But what I did notice was initially on that test, several sites posted no lap times for anyone whatsoever. And I thought, that's strange. And then lap times started to emerge. And I thought, oh, I wonder why that's just a thing. And it made my head go a little bit like conspiracy, tinfoil hat society. For me as well, the hype train is what's keeping the story going. And yes, you're right, Williams will keep that going.
I mean, I think a lot of it has actually come out of Nico Rosberg's office. I said that on Twitter.
Oh, right.
That I actually think that Rosberg and Kubica's team are putting this stuff out there to these sources, and not to the sources, sorry, to the outlets, and letting the hype sort of snowball, and then sort of saying to Williams, well, the ball's in your court. Because, like you say, a lot of the information that was coming out about Kubica was very highly curated, I felt, rather than being outright representative of anything tangible. So my official projection is, I honestly think it's, people are talking about Wehrlein again. I have it on good authority, which is Andrew Benson, that Wehrlein is back in DTM with Mercedes.
Oh, wow.
So because Toto Wolff even said, like, he's going to have, if he's going to get a seat, it has to be on his own. He has to be on his own, off his own back, because I'm not here to advocate for him.
That's quite damning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And basically, what he was saying is I'm not going to tell Williams what to do. I read it more as I'm not going to pay Williams an exorbitant sum of money for a driver deal again.
Because we've already stole one of their drivers.
Yeah, well, we know that it hasn't really worked out very well with Bottas, has it?
No.
So I think he's probably realised he's got his fingers burned a little bit, and that no driver is a dead cert apart from the likes of Alonso. And I think he's probably a little bit worried about getting his fingers burned again, spending a lot of money to put Wehrlein out there for a potentially mediocre season. And now a lot of people are also upset. And I don't want to get onto Sauber just yet, really, because, big news. But a lot of people I saw were upset as well, saying that, well, at the very least, Wehrlein should be in the seat Marcus Ericsson, we now know has. And, but if you actually look at, Wehrlein got points, but if you look at form over the course of the season, in quali it was 10-7 to Wehrlein. In races where they both finished, it was 7-5 to Wehrlein. That's hardly wiping the floor with him, is it?
No, and I think what came out of that whole battle actually was, Ericsson was very much in a... but actually both of them are kind of in a no-win scenario, because if Ericsson beat Wehrlein, then it reflects badly on Wehrlein and not well on Ericsson. And if Pascal doesn't wipe the floor with Ericsson, then everyone's like, well, Pascal's rubbish. And so, I don't kind...
Yeah, the yardstick is always Wehrlein, isn't it?
Yeah, the yardstick is never Ericsson. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No, that's exactly what I was going to say. I'm glad we're so in tune with each other.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what Ericsson does, because it will always be talked about in Wehrlein relevant terms.
Yeah. In the same way as Bottas.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think Wehrlein actually... if Ericsson is as bad as a lot of people on Twitter have been telling me he is, which I still don't buy because I love them Ericsson. But if he is truly that bad, then surely that is an argument against giving Wehrlein a seat in Formula One.
Yep.
Now, personally, I still think Wehrlein has a place in Formula One. I still don't...
Yes.
He was supposed to be the next big thing, but I honestly don't rate him on the level of Ocon. And I know it's probably a little unfair to say that because he hasn't had a car as capable as Ocon's had. But to me, it's just not even a competition. I don't know if that's necessarily a fair judgment I'm rendering, but it's all I've got. But as I understand it, Wehrlein is definitely out of the running for the Williams seat. And so my prediction is that it's going to be Sorokin, most likely, or Daniel Kvyat with a diving header out of nowhere, 91st minute goal, because apparently he's definitely in the mix in a way that you and I maybe didn't give much serious thought to, and most people didn't, but when you hear the logic behind it, it does start to make sense. He's his pace relative to both Ricciardo and Sainz was actually quite good. And to Verne back in the day.
Yep.
And that, a fresh start could revitalise him the same way, moving to Williams did for Massa. But also, we're talking about someone with years and years of relevant recent experience. He's got pace, if not consistency. So again, that ties into them looking for someone who will push the car to the absolute limit, which is what they always said about Bottas. Mm-hmm. That Bottas and Massa made a great pairing because Massa was great at technical feedback, and Bottas would always push the car to its absolute limit, which I don't think he does at Mercedes, but he certainly did at Williams apparently. So suddenly, when you start to talk about it in those terms, Kvyat doesn't seem like such a stupid idea anymore. So I think whoever ends up in the I'm going to call it the first driver role because I don't think Stroll is driver number one, even though he's the one staying on. Whoever takes that seat, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a Russian passport. That is my guess. I think De Resta is gone, even though quite recently we thought that maybe because he's the most uninspired choice, Williams will go with him. But it now seems that isn't happening. And again, that too makes sense, right? Because he hasn't driven in anger, aside from that one race. He hasn't driven in anger since 2013, and he's got almost no time in the car. And they didn't feel the need to include him in any of these competitive shootout tests.
No. Which is a right.
Yeah, and that's exactly. And if anything, I'm going to put Sorokin to the top of the list simply because Kvyat wasn't included in the tests either. But I still think Kvyat's got a better chance than people are saying. And I would at this point be very surprised if they went with Kubica because it just doesn't seem to make any sense.
No. I'd be slightly disappointed if Kvyat went for it. I think he's had enough chances. I think he's probably shown that he's mentally not able to deal with F1, kind of Ivan Capelli like. Has had the capability, given the shot, crumpled, and then was given the chance to kind of get it back again, and still crumpled. So, yeah.
But, I mean, do you not see him as I always see him as like a Frentzen. That, you know, I think in a team like Williams where the pressure's off a bit, I think he'd probably be all right. I think it's the Red Bull meat grinder that he wasn't mentally equipped for rather than the sport itself. Although, you know, it is hard to say that with any real confidence. Because, I mean, I actually, you know, I think Williams is arguably the perfect team for a driver like him.
Yeah. Oh God, I think we're out. Yeah, I've crashed.
Oh no! I was really hoping that we would both get through. What position were you in?
I was
and
last.
How did you lose it?
I was last, and I went into the same corner that I always crash out on because I'd misread the 100 board and it was a 50 board.
That's quite a catastrophic misreading then, mate.
That was a little bit.
Never mind, now you can get some photo mode shots of me looking all handsome and dangerous. I haven't changed my helmet colours from career mode, and I was supposed to, because I had orange and black because I was driving for McLaren, but it looks really out of place in the Red Bull.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
though, this puts you in prime position to claw back some points in our
little intra-team duel, yeah.
Yeah,
so you'll be starting 15th, right?
I will be 15th, yeah. Because I was last in the timesheets anyway, because I just could not get that chicane at the end right. I kept spinning out of it.
Yeah, I've been into the wall 3 times, but like both tyres hit the wall at the same time, so I survived it. But yeah, it's very greasy out.
Like a skanky woman's hair.
Yeah, exactly. Get off the curbs. Bit of a Max Verstappen there.
That was a little bit impressive. And there I keep losing it as well. So, yeah, for me, I guess I would like Sorokin. I think we've talked about him enough, talking of something else that's gone on forever. He was supposed to have come into Sauber in 2014. He done very well in GP2. I rate him quite well. If I was going to go for Russian people, it would either be him or Artem Markelov at my two. Ooh.
There it goes. Exactly it was only a matter of time.
That's what I did on my first run. You've got no wing though, so yeah, no, you're okay. Because I quite rate Artem Markelov, but he's very good at doing tyres in GP2 and looking after them. And as that becomes less of a factor potentially in the future, if we're going towards more sprint tyres, that probably works against him. So then I'd say Sorokin if we're going to pick a Russian. So yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I still would have loved them to like completely catch us all off guard and be like, "Surprise, Felix Rosenqvist!"
Yes, yes.
Like,
Get that
why
man
is he
in.
not in F1? It makes no sense to me.
Boo. And he didn't do particularly well in our first, because Formula E kicked off this weekend over in Hong Kong, and he didn't do particularly well there. But yeah, I rate Felix Rosenqvist particularly highly. He's another man that deserves to pop up at some point, in my opinion.
Absolutely, he is. No, I mean, for me, like the other thing, of course, is that like Sorokin, I think, would be my preferred choice out of the ones that are available. Even though, I mean, I may be less intimately familiar with his junior Formula E performance compared to you.
He beat Rio Haryanto by a point in 2015. That is all you need to know.
But I mean, I've heard it described as solid rather than spectacular. Oh wow! Normally I'm faster in the wet than I am in the dry, but I'm almost a full second off Hamilton here.
No, that was a good lap though to get through. Did well
now. So, you know, and also like the fact that he's been on the cusp of F1 for about half a decade. It tells me he's kind of damaged goods somewhat, and again, it's a sign that since they got rid of, since '97 onwards, actually, Williams have a driver phone book that only contains the phone numbers for drivers who are in some way crap. You know, do you know what I mean? Like either they've been rejected from somewhere else, or they're really old, or you know, you have to use a 3-cylinder engine from a Lost in Allegro to sign them, or I don't know. There's always something about all of the drivers that have been through their doors since then. I mean, Bottas was the one exciting example of that changing, because I thought, particularly when Bottas first arrived at Williams, I thought, okay, here we go. Here's a guy who's genuinely here on merit. He's not here because he's funded by the Venezuelan state oil company. He's not, you know, Ayrton Senna's. I mean, not Ayrton Senna's cousin's daughter's brother's school teacher.
Doesn't bring Toyota engines, Kazuki.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's always the same with Williams, that they're always picking like they're the team that picks last in the schoolyard. So they're left with like the disabled kid and you know the guy with braces. Yeah.
Excuse me, whilst I get ready for the race, I'm just putting on my jodhpurs. Yeah. That kind of crap. You're right though, because like the last time, like I'd argue Massa and Bottas were a good couple, but then Massa was rejected from Ferrari, so that falls into that category. Up until I'd say the last time that they had a solid, strong lineup where you could say everyone's there on merit would have been 2006 when they had Webber and Rosberg was debuting, and that would be the last time. Since then, they've been saddled with one driver that's a reject or a damaged good or part of a trade deal, because they are now so focused on survival and running as a business and turning a profit, which they have to do because they're on their own. But it means that sometimes the business solution, I think, then hampers their online performance, and it's that balance between there's business survival, and this is where I think Manisha got it wrong with Sauber, is business survival costing at the result of on-track performance, whereas if you can go for on-track performance, sometimes the business will come.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's something that I'm definitely going to touch on when we get around to Sauber during the race, because I think Frederick Vasseur has shown that really well, even though like on that one I've had to eat humble pie, right, because I said at the time that he should have just taken the fucking Honda money and used that to rebuild. But it seems I was wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong when it comes to Sauber.
How do you still have wheels?
Because it just hit the end of the nose. Okay, right, well, come in, change the nose, try again. You know, that wasn't happening until it happened in the end of Q2, and now it will happen all the time because I know about it. It's the same with that dip that used to be in the circuit at India. Do you remember?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Caterham
yeah.
Kings year.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it would spin me every single lap, even though I know it's there.
Oh, I miss the Bud
Oh,
circuit.
angry football referee, you're back and you're my front jack, man. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since F1 2015. Divorced Asian man is still gone though.
I know, he does look quite sad. Because last time he was there in the last game that he was about, I'd noticed that he'd put on some weight. Because clearly he's now just self healing himself with pie.
I have to say, my chief engineer, he looks very similar to Will Panisi.
Ooh. I did. Will Panisi is the social media manager for Force India, in case people don't know who we're banging on about. But yeah, it's we know him quite well, and I saw on his Twitter, his Instagram, he's. You know how driver lineups do like their end of year driver lineup all together with the board? They done like a PR version of it all. And
I saw that.
What was really interesting was that every single team has two people to do with PR, assumably one for each driver, maybe a guess, except for one team, McLaren, who had four. And you know that three of them are for Fernando and one's for Stoffel just crying in the corner. It's made me laugh.
I would imagine that it's one for Stoff, one for Fernando, and two to come up with excuses for Honda.
Yeah. Or just to like...
Those two are just there to smooth over the relationship.
One for each arm of Eric. Is it Eric? The team boss guy? No,
Eric
not
Bouillard.
Not Eric Boulier. Oh, what's the American guy?
Zach Brown.
That's it. I wanted to say Eric Kerry, but that would be a horrible love child. Imagine if you gave birth to Chase Kerry's child and it came out with that tash. Da-da.
Ooh.
There's a horror movie.
I don't know. I'd keep it. It'd live in the basement, but I'd keep it.
I'd pop it in a circus, and have it on a rotating stall of hats, so that it could. Today I'm sheriff, baby.
What I do want to say about that though is, talking of good teammates, I have noticed that Fernando and Stoffel seem to be getting along very, very well.
Yes.
Actually.
And relatively still competitive. I mean, Stoffel's a wee bit behind, but wasn't it interesting in Abu Dhabi that Fernando was like, "What can we do for Stoffel?" And I was like, "Nope, he's well off. He's got problems."
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Again, you've read my mind. Because I thought that was really cool. I always love seeing that in Formula One. I know people, talk about cross Senna and they want like heated rivalries, and I want them too, but not within the same team. And I always love when drivers are a bit selfless like that. And if you see them together on social media and Instagram or on TV or anything, those guys fucking love each other. They genuinely do. And I think it's partly because they're at such different points in their career, right? That Stoff excelling in any way doesn't threaten Fernando's status one iota.
No.
It reminds me of, even though I wasn't around at the time, but I'm familiar with the relationship through my knowledge of the sport. It reminds me of Jackie Stewart and Francois Sever.
Yeah.
That they had a very similar relationship, very, very close, very friendly, and it was like Sever was Stewart's protege. And I see it replicated here to some extent.
I wonder if he'll go on to maybe even do some kind of like mentorship for Stoffel a little bit in the future, if he decides post racing in F1 that he'd like to continue on in the sport in some way.
I could see it actually. I mean, then again, I don't know, right? Because they're still driving for him to do outside of Formula One.
Yes.
And part of me thinks he's kind of itching for it a little bit. I'm curious to see what happens with this WEC situation.
Yes, that would be interesting.
I didn't even realize. I thought that was an outlap.
Pole by half a second.
I actually thought it was an outlap. I wasn't paying attention. I just thought it was
that's
an
when the
outlap.
good laps happen, though, when you're not paying attention and it's just natural.
Yeah, it's a fast lap now, and I'm already 3/10 down. Fucking idiot, eh?
Never mind. It's all good. You're the only one out on track as well, so it's all yours. Yeah, it's interesting because I think Nando in his later career, I liked that him and Button got on together. I think because they were just like, we just don't care.
Yeah.
Look at the state of this, and so sometimes I felt like it was indicative of the shame that they were in.
Wins by doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, there we go, Jay. Oh, hello, Jay. I didn't know he was watching, mate. Definitely Zero wins by doing absolutely nothing. He just popped in the chat.
That's pretty much it.
Like it. Putting in definitely zero effort. There we go.
But I like it. No, I think also with Button and Alonso though, it was a mutual respect.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been racing each other their entire careers, right? They debuted the same year, didn't they?
Button was the year
apart.
before. Yeah. Yeah, Button was the year before, but their entire F1 careers they've been at each other's throats. But they're also like two of they have slightly different types of respect for different abilities that they bring, and as together they become like an ultimate package. I thought so.
With our powers combined,
power of Grayskull. Super
yeah. I don't know. I did think they were an interesting team. Yeah. But again, we should get back on topic.
Yes.
What isn't an interesting team is the teams at Williams. Historically, who was Nico Hulkenberg's teammate at Williams? He wasn't with Barrichello. Was he?
That was Barrichello.
Was it? Oh yeah.
Rubinho.
God, that's like fish and chips, isn't it? Except you've got the fish, but the chips have been replaced by a soggy bread sandwich.
I love a little bit of Ruby.
I did too, but his Williams career, no.
I thought his first year was all right. I think the issue for me was when Maldonado joined, and admittedly, I was unaware of just how amazing Pastor's career was going to be, but I was slightly oblivious to his crashing abilities from lower formulae. But that year was so anonymous for the team as well as Barrichello. I felt like he could have gone at the end of 2010 and that would have been okay, as opposed to stringing it out one more year. But then choosing when to go is very, very difficult. And he didn't even want to go then, did he? He was like, no, I can do another one.
Yeah, what is it about Brazilians and not wanting to retire?
Wasn't it nice to see Massa go out with a couple of good results?
Yes, it was. Apparently, while we're still on Williams, there was actually an internal conversation about asking him to come out of retirement a second time, but they resolved that it was an unreasonable request. But that's just a rumor. But
that would have been hilarious if he's back on the grid next year.
I could see it being true.
What would you do if Massa turns up at Melbourne and is like, surprise, motherfuckers! Daddy, I still love you! Yeah.
I'd say I'd be surprised, but part of me really wouldn't. It'd be such a Williams thing to do, and a total Massa thing to do as well.
But actually, they dress him up as the Stig. Oh, yes, Felipe Stig.
But I do like this idea of like him being on a retirement cycle for like 5 seasons,
slowly morphing into Barrichello over the next 2 years when he returns back, and it's just like a hybrid Robo-Brazilian.
Well, it's getting to be like the Rocky movies now, isn't it? Everyone's the last one. This is the last prize fight. Come on, Rock.
I would pay for a YouTube channel that just shows complete highlights of him going round having to like go through cycles of that.
I've missed out on pole at the last minute.
Oh, where did they all come from?
I don't know. I don't know. 0.086 down on my best time. I'll cross the line. It's still front row. I'll take it.
That's good. You did good.
I could have been faster, but I messed up into the braking zone of the fast at the end of the fast corners after the uphill section. So
I'm wildly inconsistent around here, and I'm never quite sure why either. If that makes sense, I think you seem to lose time everywhere, but not really know.
Never mind, you're back in the mix now.
Yay!
I just hope you don't tire from the race.
Oh, now you've said that.
I don't want that to happen.
No. I shall put on my. I'll double bag it. There we go.
Now I was going to do an Esteban special counter strategy. Right, that was my plan.
Right.
However, what I realised is that it's really important for me to come out of turn 1 in the lead, and I don't want to start on the slower tyre because it just means everyone will get off the line far better than me, and then accidents happen.
Okay.
I've just realised actually as well, second position isn't too bad because it gives me the inside line into turn 1.
Oh, that's a good shout.
So I am going super softs to softs. And I think maybe the Esteban special should be upon your car because that'll allow you to work your way up the field.
I'm not so sure. Let's have a goose.
I haven't been on the front row since 2 rounds last year. I'm trying to remember which ones they were. I think one was Hungary, and there was another one. Where was it? I was on the front row. I forget, but it's a rare experience, I must say. I'm enjoying lording it over everybody up here. I've got a nice clean view in front of me.
Right, I'm gonna go counter. I'm gonna do an Esteban special.
I honestly, mate, for once I've got a good feeling about it, and I think it'll work out nicely.
I feel like I'm being,
it's so
I'm
hard
being
to
set
overtake
up.
here.
Yeah.
It's so hard to overtake here that if you let everyone pit in front of you, as long as your relative pace is fast, and it will be because you were, third in Q1.
Yeah, that's bad.
That you should have the pace to get past all these people even after your pit stop, and then you'll be on the faster tyre than the cars around you. So I honestly think it's a good shout.
That's insane.
And in my career mode, it's the counter strategy that yields the biggest lead in terms of time at the end of a session.
Okay. That guy's still shouting out to Billy Munger.
Yeah. Happens all the time. So, we've got plenty of other topics to be diving into.
Yes.
Hopefully this continues during the off-season. Because I always get nervous during the off-season that that we end up doing a series of episodes with nothing to talk about.
We can, I'm sure we can do a Failcast rumour mill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty good come like February, because then you've got all the speculation for the upcoming season, and the pre-season tests always help.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the main race topic today was obviously on the whole situation at our beloved Sauber.
Yeah.
Now they caught us off guard a little bit, but as you said to me on Twitter, it's almost as if they knew we loved them and were going live soon because they got all their stuff out in the press before the episode.
Yeah.
So the first thing that really caught me off guard, and it's something that I know we're going to spend quite a bit of time on because we love a good livery discussion, you and I, but they actually revealed at least a concept livery
Yeah.
before the new car's even built. And I have to say, like, hats off to them for that, because historically it does not happen. And I've seen a few photos now, one up on a plinth at the press conference, but then they actually wheeled the car outside so you could see it in natural light, and it's a handsome thing, isn't it?
It is handsome. So I'm looking forward to seeing this stuff outside, because you were saying that the colour of red was more burgundy, darker than the Ferrari.
It's not quite burgundy, but it is a much darker, deeper red than it looked like in the photograph from inside. Once you see it in natural light, it's a different shade of red to the Ferrari, which I think was important, because I was slightly concerned they were just going to half-arse it and go to classic Alfa colours, and we were going to end up like the early 90s where you had Dallara and Scuderia Italia and...
Yes.
Do you remember all those red cars?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or when Marlboro was in the sport, and every Marlboro car, which was almost all of them, had an identical red and white livery. And you think, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Excuse me. I don't know. I have to say, I was pleased that they went mostly white. I think that definitely works. And it's a nice, clean design that leaves a lot of space for branding. Because I think suddenly they're going to be a lot more attractive to sponsors.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, tying up with Alfa, that is a big deal. And Alfa's a brand that people do genuinely love. Oh, Hamilton, you nearly took my nose off there, you cheeky git.
Well, I got pincered by Stroll and Hulkenberg and somehow kept my front wing, so I'm delighted. Oh, until Kvyat. No, we're still okay. We've still got a wing.
Good. Keep it that way. I can't tell you how nervous I am on that one. Because also, it's the first time you drive the car heavy. And do you remember it used to catch us out a lot in our McLaren season? Because that car handled like shit anyway, but particularly badly on full fuel.
Absolutely.
And I can definitely feel the weight in the car. I'll tell you what else as well. One of us should ask Jeff what the weather's going to do, because I don't like the look of some of those clouds.
Okay. Weather report. Weather report. Oh, Jeff! Why no love, Jeff? Hang on, I'll wait until I'm on the straight and I'll bring it up on the old D-pad. But it showed no rain on the when I was looking at it on quali.
Oh, then it won't rain then. But all he said to me when I just asked him with the D-pad menu, and he said, weather's looking good for now. So who even knows what that means?
That's so press related. But yeah, I like the livery concept stuff. There's a couple that were shown on Autosport, but the one that they actually wheeled out looked rather swish. And then, of course, alongside that... Oh, Christ, that wasn't a good run through the chicane, but we survived. I'm so delighted to see that Charles Leclerc has got a drive. The guy who is still liking people on Twitter personally when they tweet about him. I love it. So I tweeted about him a couple of years ago, and I remember him liking my tweet, and I was like, oh, that's really, really cute. Because you're like...
Yeah, I remember us talking about it, actually.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, look, fun fan. And then a couple of people a couple of weeks ago were posting on Facebook. They was like, Charles Leclerc just liked my tweet. And I was like, yes. He is still a human being and nice and normal, and I appreciate that. And it's not very often that I will say this guy is the real deal, but every time I've seen him race, in all the formulae that I've seen him do, I can't. He's just the cream of the crop, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes in a Sauber that's going to be at the back of the field, because I think he might have the tendency to overdrive what he's given, because he is so focused now on I've got to win, I've got to do this, and he's quite intense on team radio, and so I hope that he deals with that well, because more so than Jules Bianchi, the late Jules Bianchi. This is a champion in waiting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see him in action in a Formula 1 car. I don't share your outlook in the sense that I don't think Sauber will be actually at the back.
I don't think they'll be at the back, but he's so used to winning everything I think when you come from
Well,
that
actually, there's a lot of
mentality-
drivers like that, right? That they do struggle.
Yeah.
Don't you pincer me?
Like Sergei Sorokin is on GP Update saying how depressed he's been this year because he's not been actually racing. He's only been testing. And he's like, I've realised I'm not cut out for testing. I have to race or it's nothing.
I can sort of understand that.
Yeah.
It makes some sense. You do tend to lose your edge, I suppose. And there are a lot of drivers who struggle when they go from dominating something to having to make up the pack. I mean, a name that always comes to mind when I think of that is someone like Alex Zanardi,
Yeah.
who was wiping the floor with everybody except in Formula One. And I felt his performance at Williams got worse and worse as the longer that persisted.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why Formula One is actually a love-hate thing for a lot of drivers. And there's a lot of drivers I've seen down the years who don't even attempt to enter Formula One because they don't like the performance disparity in the machinery.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mark of a mentally weak driver, I have to say. Because some of the most scintillating drives I've seen, particularly in qualifying, have been in cars that were never going to be on pole.
Mm-hmm.
I always think back to Monaco 2010 with Kubica. His laps in qualifying during that session were balls out amazing. And he didn't put it on pole. So I don't know, it is definitely a mindset that I've seen replicated in some drivers, but the thing about Leclerc is obviously he's got all the time in the world on his side, and he's a pretty much proven quantity at this point. I mean, he'd have to do a Jacques Villeneuve and fail that hard in his subsequent years to not eventually come good.
Yeah.
I'm
and
faster
if people...
than Hamilton, but I can't get by.
Boo. I'm kind of trying to cling on to the Williamses in 12th at the moment. But yeah, if people have not seen Charles Leclerc in action, do yourself a favour, go to Racing for Everyone, and it's the number 4, not the word 4. I'm going to say it's .net, but it might be .com. And they upload loads and loads of different series of races, and the whole of this year's GP, Formula 2 and GP3, to be fair, is on there as well if you want to check out Lando Norris. Sorry, not Lando Norris. What's the other one that done the Force India test? George Russell.
George Russell, yes.
Who is an interesting talent for the future. But yeah, if you want to see Charles Leclerc in action, my personal highlights were Abu Dhabi, that just happened, where he'd already won the title, but his sprint race at the beginning of last year in Bahrain. So in GP2 you don't generally pit in a sprint race, but he had trouble making tyres last, so because he wasn't used to the car, so he pitted, came back out again in 20th and just went round and overtook everyone in about 7 laps to win. And it's just a masterclass of driving around the outside of people. Admittedly, he's got new tyres and everything like that, but it was just sublime. And the commentator is literally just jizzing in your ear all the way through. It's great.
I just want to digress very momentarily. After this is done, I need you later to go back and watch this, and at sort of 1 minute 7 and 30 seconds up until now, I need you to watch what I've just done and appreciate how difficult it was for me not to be like all the way down the microphone the entire time, because it was bum clenching. It really was. So many potentially race-ending incidents with Hamilton just trying to get past him.
Are you passed?
Yes, I am currently first.
Yes. You
but my pace is really mercurial, so they keep catching me up and then I keep leaving them in the dust, and it's really difficult to find my groove.
Also remember on this race, it's the only race where you run more fuel than you should do on standard, so just keep an eye out for that.
I'm currently plus 0.93 laps. I think I'm all right thus far. But yeah, in other news as well, tying into that, is the Merrickson.
Yes,
The Merrickson is staying. We have maximum Merrickson for another year.
we do, and
Merrickson levels have been maintained.
I feel like we are probably in the minority.
No!
No.
Yeah. God damn it. God damn it.
Do you want to restart?
No, it's okay. We shouldn't get into that habit. God damn.
Oh, dude.
I could feel it, and I didn't do anything about it. That's more points I'm dropping. God damn.
Not yet. I'm not in the points.
Seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, that could have been my only win this year. Right, let me come and jump on board with you.
You've done this.
Oh no, Jay's upset in the chat.
Yeah, me neither, Jay. Me neither. It was that fast chicane again, and
I hate that chicane.
I took a weird line. I was a bit too close to the apex, and I rode the curb. And then when I swung out wide, I hit one barrier and bounced into the other. So,
Isn't it weird though how, like, in a game, that corner I think is probably the most difficult and treacherous and unpredictable corner in the whole of F1, but no one in real life seems to have a problem with it.
yeah, it's odd actually. There are some corners that remind me of that though. I found actually in my career mode, the McLaren had real problems with maggots and buckets. Like if I took it full whack, there was a tendency to completely lose it in exactly the same sort of fashion. So it would just suddenly you'd feel the car sort of adhering to the line, and then suddenly it just no done. Yeah, some nice helicopter shots of you here, Si. You're looking very good down there.
Aw, that's not the same. Boo!
No, I'm gutted as well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what lap are we on? We could restart if you wanted, but it doesn't feel right somehow. It feels cheaty.
Okay. I don't mind either way. We're on lap 7 of 26.
We could. If you wanted, we could.
You've got the time. It is a bumper episode. This is a Sauber episode. I feel like we could do a Sauber do-over. There's a one.
Go on then, but you'll have to be the one to reset it, I think, because I'm now in thingy mode, spectator mode.
So we'll both have to cut. I'm assuming it's saved after quali, doesn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, right.
I'm getting some really great action shots of you, though. Oh! Nearly both of us retired.
It was. Right. Restart or not restart? Decide.
Yeah, go on. We'll overrun by 13 minutes, but I think that's okay.
It is a Sauber episode. Right, let's do this. Let's...
I've also just flipped a coin, and that says... Go on, then. Hopefully Jay will forgive me. I can redeem myself second time round.
Fingers crossed. Why did that say saving game? Please say that didn't do that.
I think it did.
That's alright. It should do it so that we are... Yeah, it's just on the race itself. It's not...
Are you sure? I think we've just bolted up completely.
No, I think we're okay. No, we're okay. Right, invite friend. 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 Yep. Right, that should be on its way to you, sir.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Right. And this time I will not balls it up.
Okay.
I hope. Yeah, still squeaky bum time trying to get round Hamilton, so I'm not confident.
I'll still watch that back though. So, but yeah, I feel like we're in the minority around Ericsson over the fact that he's staying, because in theory, Pascal did a better job, and Ericsson hasn't scored since 2015. But I feel like the F1 crowd needs we need a replacement Adrian Sutil, and I can't think of anyone to do it better than Marcus Ericsson.
He's the best Adrian Sutil since Adrian Sutil.
Exactly.
There's a T-shirt in that somewhere. Could do a series of Merrickson merchandise.
Preferably inside Adrian Sutil. That would be amazing. Like, I'm sure we could do that. There's a Merrickson in everyone.
No, actually, I did see a lot of people complaining about Merrickson being retained. Again, I think he picked up at the end of the season.
Yes.
And he's improved year on year, I think. I don't know. I mean, because I can get where they're coming from, right? That when you've got guys like Verline on the sideline, or Giovinazzi who has to take a third driver role, I do sort of think that there is a case to be made that, okay, maybe he's not the most stimulating choice that Sauber could have made, but still, he's a safe pair of hands. What's up?
No, it's okay. It won't let me do an alternative strategy.
Why not?
I don't know.
Oh, it will assume, because there's no corresponding qualifying session, I guess.
That we've done it all on super softs. That's so annoying.
Marcus Ericsson has out-qualified every other Swedish driver on the grid in every race he has competed in.
That is another great T-shirt. We should do a lot of Merrickson fact T-shirts and stickers. That's what we should do. Actually, do you know what? I might make a Merrickson something. We can give it away in the Christmas episode.
We'll
I'll do a series of Merrickson facts T-shirts.
Yes. Have you got the Swedish balls for Merrickson or something like that? Because he's
I love the sort of benign facts, like he is the blondest driver in a blue car on the grid in 2017, or he is the fastest Marcus in motorsport right now.
Yes. Especially now that there's no Marcus. I'm assuming Marcus Winkelhock is not around doing racing at the moment. Whatever. In fact,
but of course, that brings all the question again about, is he only there because of his ties to the guys who underwrite the team? But I mean, maybe that's the case because you and I were talking about this before we went on air. That we were a little bit surprised that Sauber didn't sort of just yield everything to Ferrari on this and take both their drivers, but. I don't know, I'm starting to like Fred Vasseur more and more since he took the helm at Sauber.
Yeah.
He seemed kind of an odd choice when it was announced.
Agreed.
And a large part of me, even though I knew it was unrealistic all along, was hoping for Peter Sauber to make a return.
Again, yes. With Burger King sponsorship, please.
Yeah, or one of the Sauber kids. I wanted someone from the Sauber family to step in.
With giant cigars, please.
Yeah, and like Fred Vasseur, when he was at Renault, I sort of didn't get a vibe from him that he was any more or less astute than anyone else on the grid. But I have to say, he's genuinely impressed me. I mean, if you think about what a monumental effort it must have been to get the board to turning down the 80 million a year or whatever Honda dole out, not only to take that financial hit but to release more money so he can hire staff. Now I have to go through this horrible start again. It's horrible. It really is. It's emotional torture on tracks like this.
Oh God.
because the AI, like we were talking about this as well, weren't we? The AI are really badly optimized for this track.
Yes. Because it's new.
Oh, spin.
Yeah, I'm up to 4th.
The restart comes good for everybody.
Oh, safety car. There we go. You finally got a safety car.
This is the first safety car I've had.
There we go. One restart and there's fucking drama everywhere. Love it. That was right. It was the Ferraris had gone into each other. I don't think they're out, but Raikkonen was facing the wrong way with Vettel gently nudging, I think.
Well, I do like it when cars mate.
Cody's must be slack to have still not optimized Baku. BONELSSA.
That's a strong start.
I didn't hear that. Could you
Boneless.
fill me in, Si?
Yeah, this track was available last year. Cody's must be slacking if they've not updated the AI. They've been too busy adding spectator.
Not updated the AI. It's just that, like, because we normally practice a little bit before the episode, independently of each other, because we don't want to ruin our relative pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an incident with Carlos Sainz, and I was complaining that the AI in this game the physics don't apply to them. And if you want proof of that, you just have to get yourself into an accident. Because what you'll notice is that in a situation where you've had even a high-speed impact, the AI car will be almost on rails. And when you watch the replay back, you can see them following the racing line as if nothing has happened. And, you know, even high-speed impacts will have them... it will have them turning up with just maybe the end plate knocked off the front wing rather than damage commensurate to the level of impact they've been in. And I find it really frustrating. I know why they've done it, because in previous versions of the game it was quite easy to make the AI crash out.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a bad actor, you know, if you were cheating the system, it's surprisingly easy to cause the AI to just back off going into a corner. So they've made the AI more aggressive and also made them less prone to spinning and collisions. But it seems like the physics do apply if they collide with each other. But I don't know under what circumstances they collide with each other. Because, you know, when it's AI, you're always concerned it's like a pre-scripted event somehow, like there's a random dice roll going on.
Yeah. Mercedes Haas,
Right,
Mercedes Haas. Raikkonen, who caused said safety car, is in 6th. How did that work?
Good man.
Are you leaning your fuel?
Right, I'm hoping the safety car doesn't stay out too long, because I want to get by Hamilton again.
It will only... It's 3 laps every single time. No matter what happens, it's always 3 laps.
See, I wouldn't know that because it just doesn't come out in my career mode. But yeah, I mean, the other thing for me that's really interesting about this Sauber deal is, and we have touched on it previously, is I'm wondering how it's going to affect Haas. It's also the first time Ferrari have had to, for a few years now, it's the first time they've had to provide current year spec engines to so many teams.
Yeah,
because
that's
previously
a good point.
Toro Rosso had old units, and then with Sauber, now everybody should be getting 2018 units, I believe.
And that'll be the first time. That will be the first time, won't it? In bloody how long? That actually everyone is on a current spec engine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if that changes with Haas.
Good point.
I mean, I'm guessing maybe it won't because they've probably got like terms of the deal tied up. But given that the Alfa Sauber deal is multi-year, I get the feeling that this is going to hurt Haas quite drastically.
Yeah.
because particularly because Haas are way more dependent technically than Sauber are right now. I mean, I know Sauber are doing this to sort of. I mean, I see it very much couched in the same terms as if you remember Force India's deal with McLaren and with Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
That got them from the back of the grid up to where they are today. I see it very much as the same thing with Sauber here.
And I am perfectly okay with that, because remember, go back 10 years, BMW Sauber, the last time that they was in some kind of big partnership like this, what were they doing? They were busy battling for top 3 constructors, showing that actually with the right kind of money and infrastructure behind them, Sauber, as they are still currently today, can absolutely be a force to be reckoned with. And that is only a sexy thing to think of, I think, for the future.
It is, and you can tell, to be honest, that the love for Sauber hasn't really gone away, because the press have been all over this Alfa deal. And then if you look carefully at the shots of the livery concept, there's just arcing jets of semen in the air. In all the shots, because everyone's just jizzing.
Yeah.
Just jizzing.
Give that position back. We are under safety car.
Oh,
Come on,
now.
safety car.
Overtake. Return the position.
Stay behind
Safety car
Perez.
in this
Okay.
lap. Safety car in this lap.
Right, that confused me. Sorry, my TV decided that it was about to go into standby, so I freaked out and had to find the remote. Dropped
Oh
behind
shit, mine's going
Perez.
to do the same thing. Mine's going to do the same thing. Shit. When we're on the straight, I will try and change the volume or something. Because after 2 hours, it's like you've not made any input.
Yep,
See if I
that's
can do
exactly
it
what
quick.
it just done to me.
Okay, now I've given it some input, so I should be okay. Thank you for that, Simon. Thank you for suffering through that, so I don't have to.
Well, I've lost out to Perez, so I now need to get that place back again.
I was told no overtaking. Oh, why are you swerving in the braking zone, Hamilton, you dick?
Worst TVs ever.
Yeah, this is a new thing. I've never seen this on a TV before. I've never had a TV that's done it. It is a ridiculous feature. It's, it's like, imagine if your phone did the same thing. You've not had any phone calls in the last 3 hours, so I'm just going to turn off. If that's all right.
That'd be amazing.
You have no friends. Goodbye. I mean, who is it that's tweaking with their TV all the time? Like 2 hours? Like there are films longer than that.
Exactly.
Why would not giving it any input for 2 hours indicate you weren't watching it?
I may have been having a complete Lord of the Ring fest. 12
Exactly.
hours sedate on my sofa.
Watch a long movie. Screw you.
Exactly. Exactly. Haas,
I
Mercedes,
can't tell you how
Haas,
sweaty I am
Mercedes.
now. Because I'm terrified of that chicane that's coming up.
I'm terrified of the corner that we've just gone through as well.
Fuel is looking really good. Of course it is, Jeff. Of course it is. We've just been behind the safety car.
Do you mix one behind the safety car?
I didn't, actually.
Oh, I did.
I totally forgot to do that. Right, what I'm doing now is I'm not going full speed through that chicane.
Well, I lifted
just ease
off
off the
and then
throttle.
still went on a little skid, and I've just lost out to to Brotas. Now I'm going to have to do a slipstreamy move back past again. No, Brotas, no.
What do you reckon's going to go on with him? Because I've been reading, like, you can tell it's been, before the Sauber deal was announced, it was a really slow news week. Like, the week after our last episode
Yeah.
was super slow with news because the tyre test hadn't happened yet, and no one was really sure what was going on with a lot of things. You know, it was all considered rumour and conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a piece suggesting that, well,
Your imagination.
because Bottas had won the last Grand Prix, was it a signal that he was going to do a Rosberg and come out and win the championship the next year? And I was thinking, you have to be particularly high to think that is an indication that that is going to happen. Because it's this, and again, it's another prediction that we made that came true, but it was an easy one to make. That Hamilton doesn't tend to win races after he's won the championship.
He never has. Never ever. I didn't realise that that was an actual stat.
No, me neither, until I read it.
Yeah. And then I was like, this does make sense. Because then he's just like, no, I'd rather record a new album, plus. Hang out with my little chums. Which is fine, fair enough. You've done what you need to do. But, yeah, Mr. Rapper, not really. Yeah, do the lightest feather froth. I know it means that you're vulnerable down this straight, but...
Yeah, because Hamilton's just
say,
by me.
For safeties...
But it's better than being in the wall.
Yeah.
You'll be on the softs.
Not now, Jeff. Not now. Shit. I've lost out for Hamilton now. I'll get by him. It's just I'm so scared now of binning it. I don't know what strategy change Jeff is offering me, but it was not the right time to make that offer, Jeff. No, Jeffrey.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Do you like my pace? Do you like it?
Yet Hamilton still decided to win the 2014 finale, denying the Saudi trophy again in the process.
I shall take a look at what that comment was because I was too busy trying
Yeah,
to
I was going to say, I
crash.
was so busy. Now I'm concerned about you catching me. I've also knocked my front wing, which means this chicane is going to be even more bum squeaking
Oh god.
than it normally is. I'm going to try and relax now. Why don't we continue with the episode, and that should lighten me up a little bit.
Okay.
So, other news. Red Bull, the mother team, are working with Honda
The mother
already.
team.
Yeah.
In the boobs
Well,
of
because
Jerry
you know,
Hamilton.
you would expect it with Toro Rosso,
Yes.
obviously.
Yes.
Kind of goes without saying, but Red Bull already have engineers working alongside Honda, so it's kind of that seems to be signalling, right, that they think the Renault deal is not going to be renewed, which again doesn't really come as a surprise to anybody. I was just more surprised that they're looking at this so early, because when does their Renault deal finish?
End of next year.
And
So it's like a season early. And I guess if Honda joined a year late, wouldn't it be lovely if they got a year's head start this time? I guess. Because they've always been a year behind on catch up. And I guess for me as well, the Honda has always been awkward with its packaging. And for not the
I
first
guess that's
time...
probably what they're trying to do, right? Trying to figure out how to integrate it into the Red Bull, how to package it correctly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a strange one, right? Because whatever Honda deal they have, I guess is going to be very short-lived, because haven't Aston Martin basically confirmed now that they're going to enter as a power unit supplier?
They haven't confirmed anything, but from 2021 or 2022, whatever it will be, it just seems like a unwritten rule.
Because
Isn't it?
because I saw that they've hired some ex-Ferrari power unit guys.
Ah, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was on the front page today of Autosport. That they've hired a second former Ferrari power unit engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that actually it is something that is on the cusp of happening. And if it does happen, then we already know it's going to be Red Bull they're powering, it seems. Oh dear, that didn't look good.
I misread the signs. The sun was in my eye. Ooh, now I've hit a barrier, but I'm okay.
Right, I need to start closing the gap to Hamilton now I'm no longer shitting my pants. It's a little late on the brakes myself there.
You've got a Brotas and a Raikkonen coming at you as well.
Oh no. No! I can win this race, I just need to get my confidence back.
You can do it, Esteban. Think of your taco friends.
Because, I mean, of course, you know, if Aston do come back, there's a very real chance then that we'll see 2020, 2021 Honda without any teams. No?
Yep, absolutely.
Because, I mean, unless Red Bull's managed to turn things around completely, in which case you'd wonder why they'd change power unit suppliers at all.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me that it's a doomed relationship in the sense that one party is not going to survive it. Whether that's Honda themselves or it's the Red Bull teams, because we've already said that if if Red Bull are forced to not be competitive, they won't be able to retain drivers and they won't continue to invest at the level they're investing at. They certainly won't be running two teams.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think they need to go for it now, because they've signed Verstappen. Verstappen knows something, and I think one of the things that they probably need to do to placate him is to say, look, we're starting on 2019 now. We know for the last couple of years that actually our car has been terrible out of the bag, so we are getting the head start now for when we are able to be free of Renault, and therefore we're working together with Honda in a year in advance. Therefore, for 2019, if you suffer 2018 with us and maybe get the odd win here or there, we'll be okay for 2019 onwards, because we're going to hit the marks straight out the bag with a competitive package, because we've been working on it for that long.
Could very easily be. I mean, I took it actually that the terms of the deal were just that he would be the number one driver.
I think that as well.
You make a compelling point. And it's interesting that Ricciardo has already started setting deadlines
Yes.
for his negotiations, which is a strange one because, like, yeah, he's in a good position, but I do worry he's overplayed his hand a bit there, because the other seats that are available are not guaranteed to always be better ones, and he's not a shoe-in for any of them, frankly. As good as he is, and I rate him very, very highly indeed.
Yes.
You've got to be thinking that, you know, Leclerc on the scene means he's not quite the tempting, tasty morsel that you might think he'd be to Ferrari. And Mercedes have Ocon, who is already, in my opinion, probably very close to being ready to step up to the works team.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling that Red Bull is probably his best option, but at the same time, if he stays under these terms, then we know that he's going to suffer under the reign of tyranny of Verstappen's number one driverdom.
Yeah.
So I don't think he has any attractive options, really.
It's funny how stale a driver market is, even though in theory it really isn't.
Well, it's because, like, all the teams that copied the Red Bull model of suddenly genuinely having a young driver development program rather than just relying on teams they had no formal relationship with to sort of bring drivers up to Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those drive development program drivers are suddenly coming out of the program.
Yeah.
And it's closing a lot of doors in competitive teams to drivers like Ricciardo.
Yeah.
And it puts people like Bottas under immense pressure, which again is good. You know, Formula One's all about competition, right? And
Yeah.
more competition for seats is undoubtedly a good thing. It does make me worry for particularly Ricciardo, actually.
Do you think it's... No. I'll answer the question anyway, but I've answered it in my head before I'd even said it. Do you think that you need to be associated with a driver development program now to actually make it to Formula One at all.
Do you think Renault has any chance of becoming good enough to attract Ricciardo in the near future?
Oh, that's a good shout, Jay. Are you pitting? Yes, you are. Cool.
Yeah, I am, mate. Actually, that is a really good question. I'm going to lose time to Hamilton as well because I'm replacing my nose. I'm going to lose out to Bottas as well. Shit. I really have thrown this win away.
But we're still racing. That's the main thing. So that was Jay asking...
Oh, don't hold me in the pits while everyone goes out, you motherfuckers.
Just do an
I'm out
unsafe
behind
release.
Perez.
Oh, Christ. Well, he was the next guy behind me. So that's
oh god,
like
I'm 18th.
It's okay, it's a net 5th, mate. Don't worry. At worst.
Yeah, but it's so hard to overtake, and so dangerous to overtake. And it really annoys me that I lost out in the pits. That's the worst way to lose out.
This makes me feel like my motorsport
Don't you take my
manager
nose off,
too.
you motherfucker.
So, because for me, when we talk about Renault, they've already put their eggs in the basket of we want Sainz and we want Hulkenberg. And
yeah, but those signs is by no means a guaranteed thing for them, right?
No, indeed. But yeah, it does make me kind of go, where? Because that is the other team that is going to come good, isn't it? Everything else is a step down. Renault, we know, will get there. They always do. In their ebb and flow of the Enstein team. So, oh Christ, pit. I didn't realise my tyre was on 67%.
I got past Perez, but it was fucking suicidal.
I can't do this pit lane at all. It's too scary.
Have you crashed?
No, but I lost a chunker of time.
Release.
But I'm out.
Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
Stroll? Surely
What
Stroll.
position are you?
I'm
He
in
lost hella
P4.
time. And 17 tenths.
I'm in 9th. So you really have done quite well out of this.
So Stroll is behind me, who's not pitted. He's got Bottas, and then there's a couple of other people there as well.
Well, I'm behind Ricciardo, who's behind their line, so I'm losing a lot of time there. But I'm scared to try and overtake both of them. And they brake so early into corners that I keep nearly losing my nose.
But there are the corners that you can't overtake on. That's the problem.
Oh, come on, their line, get out of the way.
You're not in F1 anymore, lose it.
Leave it. Oh, I just can't overtake on this circuit. So now Perez has caught me up. Thanks, Verline.
Stupid pass
And
down.
this is all time I'm losing to Hamilton and Bottas. That's two. It's very rare I throw away 2 wins in a day.
Yeah, Hamilton's
But
well
apparently
off in the distance.
that's what's happening now.
Oh, Palmer was holding up Raikkonen. Lol. So Palmer's in the pits now, so that's one out of your way.
And Verline's just pitted as well, and I think I can get past Ricciardo into turn 1. Thanks for hitting me, Ricciardo. Completely unnecessary, but you do you, mate.
We was just saying how great you were, now you're rubbish.
Yeah,
Never mind.
never liked him. Wanker. Okay, so I've got Bottas ahead of me now. I'm feeling a little bit happier. That means you're P3, no?
Yes. That has worked out really well for me, actually. And I think it was because of the pit lane congestion that everyone dived in on your lap. Even though...
Yeah, I should have stayed out. My tyres didn't even need to be changed. I should have stayed out. It's just, I saw the prompt show up, and I'm apparently highly suggestible.
You'd be amazing for market research.
Yeah. I honestly believe Gillette is the best a man can get. So yeah, what I wanted to do for the remainder of the episode was our end of season review and awards.
Yes,
because there's some interesting things to bring up here. So obviously, we usually start with our drivers of the year, and it never goes to the champion. That's usually the rule.
Yeah.
For the reason that, you know, they've won the title, they don't deserve anything else.
Yeah.
I almost nearly binned it in that chicane again, by the way.
God.
So, over the course of the season, so we've got to try and avoid people who just had standout drives or like a good end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
For you, who's your driver of the year? Who's the one who's sort of consistently impressed the most?
Esteban Ocon.
Do you know, I'm going with his teammate, and it was very, very close for me. But the reason I've given it to Perez is that I actually was it Azerbaijan they came together and it was Ocon's fault.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason it's not Ocon, because it's a cigarette paper between them, isn't it?
Yeah. And to be fair, it was either Ocon or Perez for me. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think. And Force India must be unable to believe their luck, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when
I've knocked my wing again.
Oh no!
Much worse this time.
Oh no! Yeah, because I mean, especially when that car was not great at the beginning of the season, and it weren't quite all coming together, and they were still going round and doing all kinds of stuff. I think for me though, Ocon, I wasn't quite aware of just how great, because for me last year with the whole who got the Force India seat, him or Pascal, it was down to basically Ocon's nice and Pascal's a bitch.
Yes.
And
it
that
really was, wasn't it?
And that was all that I could think of was the difference. That was all people were talking about. And so I was a bit oblivious slightly to the speed, because when you've got two people pushing really hard, it's that age-old thing. If you're in the back of the grid and you're both pushing really hard, you do a Toro Rosso and just dump everyone and start again from scratch until someone trounces someone. We're so sorry, you're both 9s out of 10s, but we're now going to go and hire 1 9 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10 so that the 9 out of 10 can be promoted. So that's why it comes to Ocon, because it was a genuine surprise, I think. But I do love me a little bit of Sergio.
Yeah, I mean, he's a driver that has aged incredibly well, because I never used to be a huge fan of Perez, and I didn't much rate his stint at McLaren, to be honest, because he seemed kind of petulant.
Yeah, and I preferred Kamui over Sergio when they was at Sauber, so I was a late comer.
Yeah, me too. Although, you know, he did have those standout drives, right, in Sauber early in his career, where he would like make a set of tyres last a million years. Yes,
but I guess I have brand loyalty, and I'm Kobai Crashy till I die. So, so he could never have beaten Kamui in my eyes, even if he was just as equal driver. But also I think for Sergio, actually, just to kind of tip the hat on that, also what he's done outside of the car has been really, really good for the Mexicans with the earthquake and how he's dealt with all of that. And nowhere else, apart from Massa in Brazil and Lewis in the UK, do you get fandom that kind of, I guess, translates to complete and utter madness out on track with the fans and the crowds and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, it's my favourite part of the Mexican Grand Prix is hearing them all go mental when he goes by.
Yes.
That to me is always a real highlight of the season, actually. It's part of the reason I do rate the Mexican GP so much. I'm not going to be able to race you because the damage to my front wing is pretty severe, and if I pit, I won't recover from that either.
Well, you may still be in luck because my tyres are wearing at a rate that may mean I need to pit.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm too happy about that, to be honest. I think I had the pace to catch you, but
You're faster at me.
Those
than you.
days are over. Oh, now I've just properly binned it. I have to pit.
No.
It's a 2-stop race for this boy. Oh, great, and I have no super softs left.
Even though you would do if we hadn't had to restart because of the intermediates. Sort that out, Codies, for the future. Actually have the saves note what happened in the previous session, not just our grid positions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dropping more points yet again.
No. Long way to go yet, mate.
Well, what
So,
caught me out, you know, was I was behind Bottas and I was following him quite closely. And I forget that you lose so much downforce once you're within, like, overtaking distance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went into that corner you really struggle with.
Yep.
And obviously it overshot ever so slightly and it gave me a yellow front wing. And now I've completely lost my front wing because of the downforce I lost.
Is Sainz a duty candidate or was Caveat really that shite?
I like the phrasing of that question.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed that.
Because we're Sainz fans, aren't we?
We are. We're both Sainz fans. To be honest with you, I don't think necessarily Kvyat is shite.
No. I think he's mentally
I think
broken.
I think he's just psychologically
damaged.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds extreme to say it. It really does sound extreme to say it, but I think there's truth to it. He's psychologically weak.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, so is someone like Hamilton.
Yep.
That's always been Hamilton's historic problem. It's just he's never had the... You know, if you think about the years he wasn't winning at McLaren never threw him under the bus.
No.
And I think Red Bull was arguably the very worst brand to associate Kvyat with.
Yeah.
Because they're so relentlessly unforgiving that if you are someone who doesn't deal well with criticism or, you know, needs to have the team behind you, that is not a team you should be driving for.
No.
And the reason he stayed on so long, so a lot of people obviously were wondering, well, why was it that he stayed around so long, given his relative performance? And the reason for that is that, and this is, you know, from the words of the team themselves, it's because particularly his one lap pace held up. So he had the speed. It was in the end the consistency and the race distance performance that was the problem, because he had no faith in himself. So kind of like you're seeing with me today, where I could have won this race and I bolted up not once, not twice, but 3 times. It's the same thing with Kvyat, right? That they saw, well, he can get good results, he's just not, and we need to, you know, give him time to, you know, we all have a bad day at the office or whatever.
Yeah.
That said, I do think Sainz was the better of the two.
Yep. I agree with that.
And in the end, it's consistency over raw pace that you want in an F1 driver.
Yeah. It's not a sprint formula, and Lord hope to God it never will be. And that will be a factor point for if he gets that Williams seat or not. They'll know about his consistency problems.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you think about it, that was the problem with Massa, right? And they took him anyway. Because, I mean, Massa's final Ferrari years were dire.
They were. I wonder how much of that was a car that maybe wasn't the same, because you're never sure with Ferrari. Because with the performance disparity, there is no reason why Massa should ever have stayed in that car for as long as it is, because it's making the Vettel-Raikkonen disparity look like they're battling each other corner for corner, because it was horrifically massive at times and quite embarrassing, I think, for Felipe. So why would he want to stay? Why would he know in himself that that's as good as it will ever get? And then why would people take him? Because it reminds me of, do you remember when Fisichella got pasted by Alonso, and then he was basically scooped up by Force India at the back of the grid because he was just damaged goods, and you kind of think, so it always kind of made me confused that a mid team would have picked up Massa, I guess. Oh, fastest lap.
I'll take a small victory.
Do it. You're so Verstappening today.
I know. How are your tyres holding up, Chief?
Not grand. Not grand at all. I think we'll be on the bubble, but we'll get there. It's the front right that's been tanked. So I'm assuming your team of the season is Force India?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, normally it's quite a difficult one to call, but this year it really isn't.
No.
And last year it was Force India as well.
Yes, it was.
And again, we can't just give an award out, we have to justify it. And I think it should be clear to most people, but it's the fact that they have now the smallest budget on the grid, but they're just continually engineering that car to an excellent degree. Given that the car was also significantly overweight at the start of the season, and the design was compromised from the off, there's very few teams that have the chops to develop a car in season to trim it down and get it in shape. And you don't immediately think of Force India as one of those teams. McLaren, you'd say they can develop a car in season really well. I mean, even Williams don't have a reputation for that.
No, they don't.
Their in-season development has been fucking dire for years.
Yeah.
But it's not just that they've kept up with development; it's that they've been innovating as well. They've got the Stegosaurus design on the back of the shark fin. That no one else was doing. I've noticed as well that they've taken that. Did you notice the Abu Dhabi spec? They've taken that concept and put it on other surfaces.
Yeah.
I saw their barge boards were looking a little bit spiky.
Yeah.
So it's not just that they're engineering well on a budget, but they're also innovating, and it's paying off. Plus, I mean, the level of consistency in that team has been astonishing, and we always talk about consistency in driver terms, but the fact that those cars have been pretty much bulletproof in terms of reliability, and I know a large part of that is on Mercedes, of course, but still,
there's plenty of elements in the car that can fail.
Yeah, the suspension has held up, the gearbox has held up, their electronics have been reliable.
And the drivers, I think, drive the car sympathetically, because you can have a car that gets absolutely ruined to shreds, can't it, by a driver that's too aggressive, and they don't do that.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, Bottas, no.
I do feel very strongly that team, it's a no-brainer, and they deserve a works deal. I really hope new engine regulations come in that are conducive to some more engine suppliers coming in. We get a works Force India team, because I don't think they can go much further than where they are. And the fact that they were able to maintain momentum year on year to take fourth for a second season in a row, that is huge to me.
Yeah.
So absolute credit. Moving on to the opposite end of the scale for a moment.
Ooh.
Worst driver of the year.
Jolyon Palmer.
I'm actually. The thing is, I can't see past Palmer either. but I don't. The problem I have with giving it to him is that I don't think all of it was on him.
No, I don't think it is either. I think that's another team that can't quite run two cars at the same time yet. And we saw evidence of that with Hulkenberg and Sainz yet to actually be vaguely in the same piece of tarmac, despite them both being talented individuals. And no, I think that poor guy was set up to fail from the off, but he certainly did not help himself one iota.
No, he didn't, and I think you could justify him getting it. But still, I mean, also, I wanted to consider Kvyat, but at the same time, because I feel Kvyat's failure is more his own personal responsibility than circumstance. Whereas with Palmer, you could argue, his best qualifying of the season, the car failed on him on the first lap.
Yeah.
Or before the first lap, actually, wasn't it on the formation lap?
Yeah, Silverstone, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, I kind of feel that circumstance played its part. So that's the first award we don't agree on. Now, in terms of worst team of the year, that's also quite difficult to call. Because for me, I think there's a case for Haas, but there's also a good case for Toro Rosso, and I'm stuck as to who to give it to.
And I'm going to give it to Toro Rosso, for me. I have never been so...
What decided it for you?
The zero lack of development, essentially. That car had quite good potential at the beginning of the season. And the way how Carlos Sainz was scoring points in that, and somehow ended up 9th in the Drivers' Championship, with most of his points coming from Toro Rosso, if not all of them, I can't remember. No, most of them. And that livery was sexy as fuck. I wanted that car to go so fast and so well.
Actually, no, you make a good point though, because it did come out to some fanfare, didn't it? That car at the start of the year, because they said, well,
and it was
there's been some sort of innovation here. Yeah, that only they and Mercedes have grasped, and you sort of think, well, if it's an innovation that's on a Mercedes, then you're gonna bet that it's quite good. But the car never really seemed comfortable all year, to be honest. I mean, I know it maybe outperformed itself a little bit at the start of the year, but it did seem very much to me that it was never really.
Vettel was the worst driver of the year, not because he was bad per se, but because of moments like ramming Haymilt.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he was going to get he was going to get the Bad Boy Award for obvious reasons. Normally, it goes to Hamilton for being smug. But yeah, I would concur with you. I mean, to be honest, I think Vettel has walked the line a bit too often this year.
Yep, and that all kicked off at the start of last year with the "fuck you, Charlie."
Yeah, and there was that talk that it was all going sour at Ferrari, and that he wouldn't be sticking around.
Driving one lap.
Yeah. Yeah, I did sort of see the potential for the Vettel-Ferrari relationship to go completely south, and for some reason it hasn't.
I'm glad it hasn't.
Kind of. I mean, I don't know. His first year at Ferrari, I was really happy with, actually, because he suddenly became likeable again.
Yeah.
And I think it was the shake-up that was needed by both parties, but particularly this year, I don't know. It just reminds me of why I didn't used to like Ferrari. I think maybe it's a match made in heaven in the sense that both the team and the driver are quite
bitter.
Yeah, they are. They're quite standoffish, aren't they? And
they're
and
insular.
Yes, exactly, and they tend towards a very self-serving view of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's
you know what I mean. Like he showed zero self-awareness after he smacked Hamilton around in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I mean,
and like even if you can sort of defend yourself for doing it, I think it's a very hard case to make to say, well, I don't see why anyone would be upset.
No. To me, it takes a lot for me to sympathise with Lewis Hamilton, because
Singapore
Yeah.
one incident also goes against Vettel.
I'm less aggressive on the Singapore thing, because you don't know what's going on everywhere. You should have better awareness. But that whole self-serving thing that you said is utterly true, because everything is self-serving to him, and Ferrari self-serve to themselves for the sport. It's like a little cannibalism machine that can only go so far. And for me, I wouldn't have given Vettel like worst driver of the year by far, but I'd certainly give him twat of the year.
Twat of the year.
Which takes a lot from normally my default view of Hamilton just being a moany bitch. But I would take him having some kind of moany field day over Vettel ramming people off the road and then going, oh, what is this, blue flag, come on. Apples and pears, I guess, but it's just...
I don't know. I do agree. I don't know who made the comment, but I do agree with them about Singapore, actually. I know
Jay.
I know F1 as a whole was 50-50 on that incident. Because I know like people like Brundle were defending him, saying, well, it's a classic racing move. You know, you have a bad start, you recognise the car alongside you is going to have a better line, so you move to cut them off. But to me, it was such a drastic move.
Yeah.
And it again, it's a self-serving thing, right? He didn't think about the consequence.
I'm blaming Vettel for this shitload of asterisk, 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 asterisk known as a halo.
You might not have heard all of that. But he's saying basically he's blaming Vettel for not liking the shield and getting it chucked off, because now we're stuck with the shitload that's a halo. And I guess actually...
It made him sick, didn't it, the shield?
Yeah.
It made him want to throw up. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's happy about the halo. But at the same time, I'm prepared to defend the FIA on it, because...
They're stuck. There's no way that they could move on.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no argument, no realistic argument against putting it on the car at this point.
No.
Because even though it doesn't fix all the problems, it's better than nothing, and it's proven to work within the realms that it was designed for. So then it becomes a liability issue, right? I mean, that's why they did it, because now we know, like prior to what happened to Bianchi or to Massa, no one was talking about closing the cockpits. No one even considered it. And then, you know, they start testing these ideas out, and the drivers said, well, of all of them, the Halo's the one that's probably most ready, and the engineering holds up, and the cost implications for the teams is quite small. And now, if any head accident did happen, whether or not the Halo would have stopped it, just by virtue of the Halo not being present, the FIA would suddenly open themselves up to a whole lot of liability.
But then again, the windscreen on all normal cars is angled like the shield.
Yeah, I mean, I was confused about why it happened, actually, because, you know, the visor on the helmet is curved. Maybe it was the effect of looking through the visor and the shield. And it made me wonder,
the white
actually...
visor.
Well, it actually made me wonder if you could remove the visor from the helmet.
Yeah, because if you're in a shield, why would you then be needing a visor?
Exactly.
That's an interesting point, actually. I'd never really thought of that. And would you need a helmet?
Well, I think you should still have a helmet. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it could be a maybe not an open face helmet. I think it's good to protect the mouth and the teeth.
Oh yeah. Good point.
But I think I think there's a definite case to be made that is a visor really necessary if you've got a windscreen, and I'd argue no, and maybe that would solve the visibility problems that were causing Vettel to want to throw up his bratwurst. It's an interesting one. It definitely is. Race of the season for you?
Dare I say Azerbaijan? It was the most interesting. Oh no, Bottas has got me over the line. No, my podium ruined by 67 thousandths of a second. Never mind. I still take fourth. Yeah, I'll probably say Azerbaijan for lols, but with a nod to Singapore because seeing the cars at night in the rain had me hard all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Singapore this year, and I enjoy it every year. To be fair, it's one of my favourite ones. But
agreed.
I wonder if I got a penalty because I thought I crossed the line 9th, but apparently I'm 10th. Well, I managed to salvage a point, but that was a fucking shit show.
But at least it was a point. It was a point more than what would have happened if we didn't restart.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a point up on proceedings.
Yes.
But that is the second potential victory in a row I've thrown away.
Yeah, damn it.
I'm trying to think of a driver who has performed like this because there's got to have been some. Who is it that I'm thinking of? Recent history. Was it Rosberg I'm thinking of?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. That was a hell of a drive from you, though, Si. Hell of a drive.
Singapore left me disappointed. Every exciting thing that happened ended up feeling like a shaggy dog story.
Fair enough.
Kind of, but did you not think K-Mags being the first to switch onto dry tyres, did you not think that was kind of... I remember watching him come out onto the pit exit, which was soaking wet, and watching him nearly lose it and thinking, okay, I'm going to enjoy this lap.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I quite enjoyed Silverstone.
Yes, with all the tyres going to the pot at the end and stuff.
Yeah, I did enjoy Silverstone, and also I absolutely loved the qualifying session because Nando, with that last gasp lap, taking top of the timesheets in Q1, that was phenomenal to me. Worst race of the year?
Oh God. Maybe Russia. I can't really remember Russia apart from Bottas winning. I wouldn't say that there was any particular horrific races. What about yourself?
I was actually going to give it to Abu Dhabi simply for being so cripplingly boring.
Russia. Nothing happened.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, but also I'm tempted to give it to Azerbaijan simply because it was a shit show. It was entertaining.
It's entertaining for the wrong reasons. It showed everything that shouldn't be happening at that level of motorsport, but it was still hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the only reason that it's saved from getting that award from me. Okay, Team Manager of the Year.
Abu Dhabi if I had watched it.
I don't think you didn't miss very much, mate.
Oh, jinx. Team Manager of the Year. Fred Vasseur.
I'm kind of tempted to give it as well, but he also didn't do the full season, so I kind of feel like I'm doing the others a disservice.
Then otherwise I would go for Toto Wolff, purely because he manages to walk that thin line of dominating everything while still being quite likeable, and I would love to go out on the piss with that guy. I think he'd have a few good stories up his sleeve.
I think Toto would be mine as well. I mean, in the past I've been tempted to give it to Christian Horner, but he's a Martin Brundle kind of dick. do you know what I mean? Like the Martin Brundle school of dickheadry. Like Alan Partridge sort of thing. Brundle, Horner, and Alan Partridge are in sort of a group for me because they have specific opinions and they voice them in quite a condescending way, and they all seem kind of bitter about something. Actually, do you remember Singapore last year? Martin's grid walk, and he has a talk with Christian Horner, and Christian saying It would have been fun to drive this, wouldn't it? I guess, Martin. But it's just a shame you're far too old now to be able to do a lap of this in a Formula One car. And Brundle, and that's obviously like I can't remember if it was too old or if it was too fat that he said. But he took a pot shot at Brundle, and it comes from like a place of deep bitterness. And then Brundle responded with the exact same sentiment, saying, "Well, at least I was fast enough." And I was like, "Guys, come on."
It's 20 years ago. Let it go. Let it go.
It just sounds like guys who are on Viagra. It's like the Viagra Formula One club somehow. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Daily Mail reading, tweed wearing, small-minded bigot corner of Formula One. Yes. And I definitely put Horner in there, and it's strange because Horner does a lot for the sport actually, and I do admire him for always speaking on the live broadcasts from the pit wall. Because that's got to be a real pain in the arse for you as a team principal. Yeah. Because you're going to get all these questions, and you know the other teams are listening, and so I mean, shout out there, but.
And you don't exactly get football managers being interviewed halfway through the game about what they're going to do strategy-wise. So it's
no, you don't. And for me, like Horner occasionally tries to be like down with the kids and cool because of the brand he works for, and sometimes it works, but more often than not, it doesn't. I flip between really liking him and really disliking him. I can't quite place it.
Exactly the same.
Now, who was your worst? Did we do worst manager of the year yet? I don't think we did we? Because historically that's always been Martin Whitmarsh, but he's gone now. Those days are over.
So I'm going to go for Franz Tost.
I will let you justify that in a moment, but I am going to give it to Gunter Steiner. So go on, lay it on me. What's your reason?
I think that whole complete breakdown between Renault and Toro Rosso and the handbags at dawn, I've not seen quite such a meltdown between parties, and that's been an abrasive rubbing from both Red Bull teams for such a long time, but they've always managed to kind of, like when you're trying to do an amicable divorce in front of the kids, but you still want to take a pot at the wife at the same time. That's kind of how the Red Bull Renault relationship was going, and it's like, it's all right, wife. She's not Mrs. anymore. She's tag her. So that's how that's gone. And then like Franz Tost just walks in and goes, "You're a fucking bitch. I hate you. I'm going to the gum clinic. Goodbye." And you just think, oh my god, it's such handbags. And
he's a brute force kind of guy, isn't he? To be fair,
he was made for World War II. It's just
he's a man out of time.
Exactly. I would watch an action series based on Franz Tost and his career,
parachuted behind enemy lines at the Renault factory.
Exactly. Here we are, friends. A bomb, bomb, bomb. But yeah, he scares me.
Was it Scott Speed that he punched in the face?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, I remember that fondly.
But he tends to be a bit anonymous, Franz Tost. I've never seen him interviewed.
Very, very rarely, and I think it's because he just gives one-word answers and accusational things. So I think it's actually in everyone's interest that he doesn't come out of anywhere at all. And I find his management style hilarious in a God, I'd hate to be there kind of way. And it's basically Niki Lauda on steroids. I can't deal with it, and I think it's their own downfall if he continues to do that, because sooner or later manufacturers will not want to work with you, and if Honda doesn't deliver next year, that is going to be explosions all over the shop.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think you've justified that quite well. For me, I give it to Gunter Steiner because I think to be a good F1 manager with your finger on the pulse, you have to inhabit the same universe as the championship. And he just doesn't. I don't know if he's high or if he's wearing glasses with particularly strong rose-tinted lenses, but he analyzes his team and races in a way that is so alien to anyone else in the world of F1 that I just don't see that he's exhibiting any sign of being present in reality. You know, he's got no concept of you know, the problems with the Haas business model that we've talked about at length. He's got zero awareness about the situation with Grosjean, to the point that he doesn't even talk about it. He doesn't even talk about it. Like, Grosjean's form has been shocking, I think, this year.
Yeah.
And doesn't even talk about it. It's not even a thing for him. He'll just go, oh well, it was a disappointing race, but we'll be better next time. It's like there's no evidence that that's the case, none at all. And if you ignore a problem, then you're not fixing a problem. And part of me wonders if he's got to do this to keep Gene Haas funding the whole thing, because we know he's getting ready to, he's starting to review the bills now. And I do wonder if it's sort of like he's giving us the sales pitch that he gives to Gene. Yeah. In the media, but he just seems completely departed from reality. And his position with K-Mags as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I laughed my arse off when K-Mags told Hulkenberg to suck his balls and everything. But I can't help but think that, particularly Steiner's reaction to that is part of the reason that there are no sponsors on that car. Because again, I think he dealt with it in a way that is oblivious to the realities of F1. And, I, as much as the next guy, want to return to the days of Eddie Irvine and drivers being a bit Jack the Lad. And, we all don't like how corporate it is these days. Yeah. But you can't book that trend alone, because if you book it alone, it means you pick up the cost alone. And all the other teams are playing the game. Yeah. So by not playing the game, I think it's harming the team long term. So for me, that's why he gets it. He just seems completely divorced from reality. And it's strange because he's a smart man. You hear him speak and he knows his stuff. But also, occasionally I hear him talk about his record, but his record was taking Stewart, which was a good team at the time it was bought, and slowly killing it over 3 seasons. Stewart were on the podium and they were winning races, and they seemed like where Force India are now, like they're really almost there. And then he comes in with Niki Lauda, and the pair of them completely demolish the team over the course of a few seasons. And you think, Jesus Christ, I don't know what he's written on his CV. Maybe his CV was written with the same rose-tinted spectacles, but it's like
an anti-corporate team. I don't know why so many companies want to maintain a bland-off image.
Because they're too scared. Because they know where the funding comes from. Corporate world, mate. Corporate world. It's shit, but we have to live with it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because now as well, like, everything's so sensitive. You couldn't have the drivers that you had in like the 70s, 80s, even the early 90s anymore. It's not possible, because outrage culture is everywhere. Everything's offensive. Yeah. You have to play within these really narrow lines, and just look at the YouTube adpocalypse, right? That's you can see that playing out in real time, and Formula One is not exempt from that. No. So there has to be quality control, and that's why you have like a PR person per driver who's recording everything. You always see them right next to the driver, and they're holding a tape recorder to them, and then those tapes get reviewed later on, and maybe the head of PR will be like, well, you can't say this, or you shouldn't have worded it like that. And it's exactly for that reason, because it takes just one misplaced statement and that's it. The funding's gone.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our usual cavalcade of awards. Do you have any ad hoc awards that you want to award?
Did we do rookie of the year?
Rookie of the year. Okay, that's an interesting one actually, because we've got some rookies who came in late in the year. What's the criteria? Does it have to be someone? Because actually, do we have any first season rookies?
Just Stroll doing the full season, or you could have Giovinazzi for his 2 races, or Hartley or Gasly?
And this is actually really difficult because Stroll has been super mercurial. It's feast or famine, as you and Martin Brundle have said.
Yep.
Giovinazzi had one great race and one truly embarrassing one.
Yep.
And then Hartley and Gasly, I don't feel qualified to judge right now because they've just not had a clean run of it, have they? They've always had reliability problems, and their pace relative to each other, it's not always been clear.
No. It yo-yos, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really want Hartley to do well. I don't know. I just like him. That's why I just like him. Do you have a rookie of the year?
No, and that I guess that the kind of reverse point I was thinking of making is harking back to 2018 feels like 2017 Part 2 The Revenge, because no one's really moved anywhere or done anything because it's all done and dusted. And so I think for me 2018 is going to be really, really interesting because it's just a pure cementation and continuation of this year, which to me means closer racing, better battles, more drama, even more overflowing of emotion and all over the shot. French Grand Prix coming in, which will make me probably eat a croissant and a baguette. And I'm super, super excited, even if there is going to be a halo involved, which I guess then also brings me on to the other point I wanted to make was thank you so much to open-wheeled cockpits. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. I suppose we should give them a fond farewell. It has been a good series of decades.
What is this 2018 you speak of? I thought F1 was going away for a while, face with stuck out tongue.
Actually, Halo is something that I'm very interested to see how that pans out. Not least in the video game.
Yeah.
Because I drive from cockpit view. Oh, but before we disappear, have you seen the differential in best lap times? That
was
really helped
massive.
me out.
Yeah, you was proper fast.
Yeah, never mind. I'll get more points next time.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I've got a feeling that the Halo will be transparent in the video game.
I agree.
It's the only way I can see them doing it, like a ghost Halo.
Because
that's ghosted from whoever's in the car, but outside the car it's solid.
Yeah, because whenever I think of other games where you drive in cockpit and there's like a shield going down, I'm trying to think of other cars that have anything that's vaguely similar, and I can't.
No, because it's stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that. So cool. Anything else we want to give up before we end this bumper edition?
No, I think that's it for me. It was a good episode. We're going to give them a bonus 27 minutes. I'm still not happy with my form this season because it's the first year I've definitely had the pace, but just not the consistency. But look at you go, 79 points, fourth in the drivers.
Makes me sick. But yeah, we'll get there. And where are we in the constructors again? I had it up on the screen earlier. Oh, you can't see it.
We must be fourth.
We are fourth. No, we're third because we're outscoring the Red Bulls.
For Halo, that's your answer to your earlier question of why there's still arguments against it. Visibility.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the drivers say the visibility is not bad. I just can't believe it somehow. I mean, like they would know. I wouldn't know. But when they say, "Oh, it's definitely not bad," like it's fine to drive with the Halo, I sort of think, really?
I think because you're looking beyond it.
Was that a lie?
I think because you look beyond it to where you are going for the next corner in Apex. It's a bit like, do you remember in earlier F1 games when you used to have the aerial that would come up? And I would sometimes use that actually to judge my racing line.
Yeah, well, I mean, you actually have that in the Red Bull on this game.
Yeah.
But the aerial on the Red Bull actually is very intrusive. And now I'm at Red Bull in career mode. I suppose that is somewhat similar to having a Halo, except that I imagine the Halo will cut across the top of the screen, like you're playing from inside a post box.
Burka Racing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, careful, controversy will be taken off the air.
It's all right. My videos get auto flagged for being not suitable for human consumption and advertisers anyway. Although,
Why on earth would that happen? It's not
I
as
know.
if you've ever said stuff like cunty jizz flaps or something.
no, thank you. No, definitely demonetize this one. But yeah, so it comes up automatically now. But interestingly, it says that it gets automatically reviewed when you click the review stuff. When it gets over 1,000 views in 7 days. But I've been clicking that button anyway, and they have been removing it. So I don't know if they're building up trust in me. But yeah, I'm sure it's been misplaced over time. So cool.
Well, thank you very much, mate, and
Thank
thank
you.
you to everyone who joined us.
Yeah, thanks,
it's
Jay,
always
for
good to
commenting.
have you here. We will. You should keep an eye on Twitter if you guys have us on Twitter, where we'll be gradually drip feeding information about the Christmas special and trying to knock heads together with all you guys about when the best time to do it is, because we want to get as many of you together as possible so we can have a nice hangout.
Deadlock method.
It's a good question.
Pass. What was I going to say? So
Christmas special.
so we want to race with you all. We've been saying about it for ages. Now we're on the same platform and it works, and there's no lag and shit like that. Just have a PS4 and have the F1 2017 game, and be watching us, and we shall keep you informed as to when this will be and what we'll do. And it's going to be exciting. So yeah, make sure you catch us on Twitter. What are you on Twitter?
Have multiple
At definitely
companies
zero.
fighting over the content, so no one can take action on it.
Oh no, it doesn't work like that, Joe. That's for sponsorship. That's for copyright. Well, I'm talking about Adpocalypse stuff. Sorry, what were you on Twitter again?
At definitely zero, mate.
Way, and I'm
All
at
one word.
Satoramon. So go find us there. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you in 2 weeks for our next episode / maybe Christmas special. We should find out.
Might not work with farmers, they take the video down altogether. Disappointed face.
No, it's fine. Anyway, right. Toodles all.
Thanks, guys. Love you. Bye.
And if you will, kiss.